This episode is a unique crossover published on both the Footglish Podcast as well as Ingles Podcast. Did Craig and Zdenek grow up loving football? Should football and politics be mixed up? And what does a fair weather fan mean?
Hello, everybody, and welcome. If you've just clicked play and you're wondering what's going on here, who's this guy, who's that guy, maybe we should introduce ourselves first of all. Now, this is a crossover podcast, which means that it will be published on Zdenek's listeners and viewers on his Footglish podcast, and also hopefully teacher Zdenek on YouTube. Is that right, Zdenek?
Yes, that is correct. Hello, Craig. How are you doing?
Doing very well. Very excited to speak about football with you, because if you want to learn English and you're interested in football, then Zdenek is your guy. He's your man. So I'm interested to get into our conversation. But first, let's introduce ourselves. So would you like to go first?
Sure. Thank you. So my name is Zdenek. I'm from the Czech Republic, or Czechia, if you want. And I'm an English teacher. And I am very passionate about football as well. So these days I try to teach English through football. Not only, but I've done it all. But this is like one of my, let's say, niches that I like to do, because it's really interesting, I believe.
How long have you been doing the podcast, and how long have you been teaching English?
So I've been teaching English ever since I graduated from university, which was back in 2011, I believe. So yeah, it's been a while, 15 years. I don't know if it qualifies for a veteran teacher. Probably not, but I'm getting there. And as far as the podcasting goes, I first started doing Zdenek's English podcast. It still exists, but that was sort of my personal project. It allowed me to improve my own English as a teacher, which is very important if English is not your first language. So that's the first podcast I did, and inspired by Luke's English podcast. I'm sure you know Luke as well.
Yes, I know Luke. Yes. Many podcasters were inspired, especially English teachers were inspired by Luke.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So I created Zdenek's English podcast. You see what I did there?
Yes.
and then the Footglish podcast. I don't even know when I started it. I think it must have been, a year or two after COVID or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just had this idea that I could. To be fair, I've had similar ideas in the past. For instance, my master's degree thesis that I had to write was on the language of football commentators. So I've always tried to.
Oh, really? You can do that?
Yeah, I could. Yeah, because they were actually quite happy that someone came up with something different, right? So because it was like I chose this linguistic path, right? So I was exploring the syntax and what else was it? Semantics of the vocabulary of the commentators, and it was. I made this terrible experience quite relatively I don't want to say enjoyable, because writing a master's thesis is always a drag, but I made it work somehow.
Because you're interested in the topic.
Yeah.
Which makes a lot of sense. So the Footglish podcast is where you can listen to Zdenek's take on football, and also I believe the website is teacherzdenek.com.
That's right.
So for Ingles podcast listeners, that's where you can find, and we'll repeat these at the end as well. And for your listeners, if you haven't seen me before, my name's Craig, and I'm originally from London. I was born and bred in London. My formative years were spent there, but then I came to live in Spain a long time ago, nearly 30 years ago, and I've been living here in Valencia ever since. And I teach English at englishcraig.com. That's where you can find my information and my free Zoom chat if you're interested in my courses. And also we have a podcast at inglespodcast.com, and I do that podcast with a co-host, which is why it might be a bit strange for my listeners coming in and seeing you, Zdenek, online, but it's lovely to have you. So
May I ask you a question too?
Go ahead, of course.
Ingles Podcast. So does it mean that you focus primarily on Spanish speakers, or?
Good question. Originally, we did. So when we started the podcast, which was over 10 years ago, it was mainly aimed at Spanish speakers. Although these days it's open for everybody. So we have listeners all over the world. But it was originally for Spanish speakers. It was started as a hobby back in the day, and we've been doing it for over 10 years. So it's quite a catalogue of of all sorts of grammar and vocabulary and different topics over the years.
Lovely.
So one thing I did want to ask you, many people develop a passion for football very often because of their dads, I think. Their dads take them to games and it gets passed on from granddad to dad. And that was the way I got interested. And as soon as I saw you wearing your Arsenal shirt on a previous interview, I was very interested to talk to you because that was my team back in the day. And I want to say it still is, but I'm not a staunch fan of Arsenal. A staunch fan is someone who's very hardcore, somebody who follows every game and knows exactly who's playing for the team and everything. And I dropped my interest for football in general years ago, and if you want, we can talk about that. But I was a very, very hardcore Arsenal supporter when I lived in London, and that came from my dad. And
when you say hardcore supporter, sorry
Yes.
for interrupting you, does it mean that you were an ultra as well, or?
Well, let me tell you the story. It's not very long. I have a very close friend who I'm still in touch with. I've known him since we were 6 years old, and we went to Arsenal together as 15-year-olds, 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds. And he was going through a difficult time with his parents and personal issues. And I wouldn't say he was a hooligan. I wouldn't say he was a football hooligan exactly.
How many people have you punched, Craig?
But we did start getting into a situation where like something really bad could happen. We were attacked once by West Ham fans. Sorry, Ben, on the train, and then we used to go to watch Arsenal in Highbury before the Emirates Stadium was built. And we were standing up with the North End back in the day singing, and we were part of that group. And my dad started to get worried because he could see that maybe I was going down the wrong path. So he bought us a season ticket. Because if you remember back in the day, most of the football violence and the trouble because people were standing up and they could run and they could attack the other team. And when they decided to put seats in the stadiums, that's when things calmed down a bit.
Right.
So he bought me a season ticket, and then he got really interested in Arsenal because he was trying to protect me, I think, from this possible path to hooliganism. And he really became a very staunch, there's that word again, a staunch Arsenal fan. And he took me to away games occasionally, but we always had that seat in Arsenal for a couple of seasons in the old stadium. That's the backstory.
Well, that's really interesting. Yeah, you mentioned those troubles. I know back in the day there were real troubles in England. Yeah, and then something got changed, right? Because even some people died, I believe, in the stands. And
there were some. It became compulsory for the top team clubs in the UK to have all stadia, all of the seats for 1994-95 season. So all the main clubs had to have seats. They couldn't have any standing tickets, which of course brought the prices up, and it became more expensive then to go and see the game.
Natural, and maybe even fewer people could squeeze in, right, or something like that.
Yes, so they increased the price of the tickets because they were allowing fewer people into the ground.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, no, this I think happens in most countries in Europe. I guess they go through different phases, and this was a big one, right? A huge change, but definitely for the better. And I think when you talk about the football culture now, I think everyone can sort of learn from you these days. But yeah, you also had your tough times.
So how did you get involved in football? I know you spent some time in London. Was that your introduction to football, or were you keen on it growing up in Czechia?
Yeah, I was always keen on it ever since I was I I don't know when I started getting interested in football as a child, really. As
Was
long
it
as I
from
can,
your family? Did a cousin or an uncle or your
I
father take you to
guess, like
games?
partially, but also like I always loved playing it. Like when ever since I started going to school, I assume. I think I don't have any memories of myself playing football in the kindergarten, to be fair. But ever since I went to school, whenever there was any free time available, which is like the class breaks, right? You have like, how long
Yeah.
are the breaks? I think 10 or 15-minute long breaks generally,
Mhm.
right? In the elementary school, then in the secondary school, and I always spend that time playing football. It was with a tennis ball or whatever, a ping pong ball, whatever was available. It was round. I would just kick it around with my classmates, and obviously my favorite subject surprisingly wasn't English, but it was PE. It was always PE, and I was always hoping
Physical education.
physical education. I was always hoping to have a teacher who was someone who would always play football with us, because some of those PE teachers took their jobs too seriously and they would want to torture us with gymnastics and other nonsensical sports. But we just always wanted to kick the ball around. It's the beautiful game, Craig.
I
So,
know, but it's really interesting you said that, because I went to quite a traditional school, a grammar school,
mm,
which for the first few years was only boys. And we played cricket in the summer and rugby in the winter. So during our compulsory games lessons, we weren't allowed to play football. We had a school football team. I was not good enough to be in it. But
mm,
of course, I loved football. I loved playing football. So the only time we could play football was before school, after school, or in the lunch break,
yeah.
because we didn't have an organized team or football session. We only had cricket or rugby, which really annoyed us.
Mm.
So we made time to play it by ourselves.
It's interesting you mentioning to me that you went to a grammar school, which is in my country, in the Czech Republic, and I think in other countries around us, we have something that's called gymnasium in our language. Which every time I'm trying to teach this to some students from my country, from the Czech Republic, you cannot translate it as gymnasium, because gymnasium has a different meaning in English. And I've asked numerous people about it, and the closest translation of this type of school would really be a grammar school. But it was not boys only then. It was like a mixed class. But
Mhm.
it's because it's like, let's say we had more in-depth education. I don't know, like there were more different subjects, and you are expected to go to universities after you graduate from this gymnasium, right?
Gymnasium.
Yeah, it's called
but,
gymnasium,
but,
but
but,
it's
just,
not.
but just to, sorry to
Yeah.
interrupt you, but just to be clear, when we say grammar school, we don't mean it's a school where you only learn grammar. Which
That would be boring.
misinterpret it. It was dependent on the government, at least in the UK. So
Yeah,
if it was a right-wing conservative government, they tended to introduce more traditional grammar schools.
I see.
Whereas when the government changed and it went to left-wing Labour, it tended to be more comprehensive schools, which would be
I
the
see.
more modern version, I suppose. I don't know if it was the same in Czechia.
Yeah, I don't think it was about politics that much. I'm not sure. I'm not sure, but yeah, generally we have primary school, but then different types of secondary schools. It starts getting more diverse as you start specializing, right? But this gymnasium, it's often translated as grammar school, because basically the idea is that you really have all sorts of different subjects. It's not very specialized. But when
Right.
you learn about maths, you go quite in depth. When you learn about history, you go in depth. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do. That's clear.
It's quite tough, to be fair. But even when I was in grammar school, it took 7 years to graduate. It was a long time, and it was always football I was interested in the most. Yeah, always.
Well, that's not my case. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you, because we're recording this on the 4th of July, 2026, in the middle, we could say, more or less, of the World Cup. So obviously, I've had lots of people contacting me, listeners to the podcast, saying, well, what do I think? Am I Spain? Am I Arsenal? Am I Spain? Am I England? Those kind of questions.
Yeah.
And how do I feel about the World Cup? So what better person to talk about it than you? But I don't want to make it completely about the World Cup, because in a few weeks' time, it's going to be over. And hopefully this podcast will live a bit longer. What I thought I could do, if that's okay, is to play devil's advocate with you a little bit, because I'm a bit nervous coming on to talk to you about football, not knowing much about it myself these days. So please don't ask me any hard, tough football questions about the World
Cup. How many goals has Messi scored so far in the tournament?
I haven't got a clue, but I know he scored a couple yesterday, which was a very interesting game. Maybe we can get to that a bit later. That was a wonderful game. But yeah, what's the devil's advocate? Well, my definition here from the dictionary is a devil's advocate is a person who deliberately takes the opposite side of an argument, not because they necessarily believe it, but to challenge another person's view or reasoning. So I'm going to play the devil's advocate with you, Zdenek, and ask you a couple of questions.
Of course. I'm just thinking about who often plays devil's advocate. It's journalists, right? Some podcasters.
Yes.
And often us English teachers. I do it a lot with my students.
Of course, because you want to get them talking. Yeah? You want to push them a little so that they defend their opinions.
And the idea is that it's not necessarily your opinion when you play devil's advocate. It's just, as you said, you just want to look at the things from the other side.
So you could start your questions with, some people say that, blah, 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 or it could be said that, and then you're not actually saying it. You're pushing the viewpoint of someone else to the person.
Exactly.
Why would people invest so much emotion and energy in a football club or a national team, a national side, when you can have absolutely no control over the result? I mean, I was really sorry to hear about about Czechia getting knocked out, disappearing. I'm sorry to bring that up.
We deserved it, so.
But to quote what you've said, you felt crushed, devastated.
Yeah.
Recently, you said on a podcast, it's the hope that kills you.
I was gutted.
I've heard you were gutted. If you're gutted, then you've got that really bad feeling in your gut, in your stomach, like a sickening feeling, which was exactly what Luke Thompson said once when he was speaking with you. When France beat England, and I totally understand this viewpoint, he said when France beat England, it was a sickening feeling to lose. I just buried my head in the pillow. So that I'll repeat the question. Why would you go through this emotional whirlpool and go through this torture of losing when you don't have any control over the result?
I guess we are emotional human beings, and we have always it's in us, this competition, this not willingness, but this desire to beat your opponents in a game, right? It's something we've always done as kids. We've always played games. And it's just a nice feeling to win, and part of it is that someone has to lose, and it's almost like a reflection of life, isn't it? Sometimes win, you sometimes lose, and but why would you? Yeah.
Can I stop you there? Sorry, but you've got to a certain extent, you've got some control over your life. Like you can decide what job to take, you can decide what person to marry. With
hopefully, because in some countries you have arranged marriages, Craig. So
that's true. Luckily, that doesn't refer to us. But yeah, you do have control to some extent on some things that happen in your life. Sorry, I interrupted you. Carry on. But I've also got.
I see what you mean. I do. Like as a football fan, right? Whatever kind of fan you are, you can't really influence it, impact it. But if you're in the stands, if you're there in the stadium, you can cheer for your team, and believe me, it makes a huge difference. if you're loud and good at supporting your team, the players will feel it. They will. It's like, and it's not just about the noise. It's that energy that you pass on to the players, right? So that's out of the question, in my opinion. Definitely, there is some influence you can make. Yeah. Then, if you are this what's it called, an armchair supporter, right, where you just watch football on TV or something, that's more definitely more up for debate. And yeah, you're right, it doesn't seem like you have much impact, but I suppose you still sort of, I don't know, what do you think? So you think there's no way you can
Well, I'm at the moment I'm a fair weather fan, which means when the sun's out and Arsenal have won the the championship, then I'm right behind them. I went to see the game. I was very, very happy. But then they lost the final against PSV, and I was really, really sad
PSG.
because
Yeah,
PSG. I'm sorry,
yeah,
PSG. Thank you.
yeah.
But then I started to get again emotionally involved in the team, and I was really. It took me back to when I used to go and watch them with my dad, and I got very excited, and then we lost, and I felt terrible. So it reminded me again. And let me tell you when kind of all of this changed for me, because in 1979, Arsenal played Liverpool in the Charity Shield Cup, and it was my first time at Wembley Stadium. So I went up to Wembley Stadium, met some friends outside. We went in the game. I had a huge Arsenal banner and flag. And we lost the game 3-1. And I remember the ride home on the bus, crying my eyes out as a 15 or 16-year-old at the time, and just feeling incredibly sad. And I never forget that feeling, which it kind of made me step back a little bit. And then I kind of moved away from supporting Arsenal with such enthusiasm when I started traveling. So I became a fair weather Arsenal fan, kind of interested from a distance, but not getting too emotionally involved in the results.
It's a similar to the expression "a fair weather friend," right? Which we also use. Someone who is only your friend when things are going well, but whenever there's a problem, they suddenly disappear.
Whenever it rains, let's say, they go away.
And as we know, when it rains, it pours sometimes, So when things are not going your way, suddenly your friends are not there. And that's when we know they were not a real fan. They were just a friend. They were just a fair weather friend.
Exactly. Yes, go ahead. I thought you wanted to say something.
I suppose there's another expression, a glory hunter, right? So this is also a type of a fan that only is a fan when they are supporting a team that is only winning. And we have such teams, unfortunately, like someone like Manchester City, right? They always win everything, especially under Guardiola, or generally these big clubs, like you mentioned, Paris Saint-Germain in France, they always win the league. Now you have Bayern Munich in Germany, they always win there. So I suppose from that point of view, it's a little bit more interesting now in England, but at least Man City are being challenged at this point. I think last year it was Liverpool who won the league, right? And now it's us. Does it bother you when we say us, when I refer to?
Well, I don't. I feel like I can't say that. You can. You've got the shirt. You've been following them for years. I can't say us because it's not fair to be a fair weather friend. It's not fair to only cheer the team on when they're winning. Yeah, I think you have to take the bad with the good.
To be fair, just because I have a shirt on, it doesn't make me a diehard fan. I think I have been to the stadium maybe 3 times. I've been to the Highbury Stadium as well, but that was I went there in 2005. Sorry, but I was supporting Sparta Prague back then. So I'm a plastic fan as well.
No, I don't think you could be described as that.
I think I am. Yeah, I think I am. I'm a fan of the Czech national team for sure. That's a different story. But okay, when it comes to the Premier League, I definitely support Arsenal. It's a great club, but no, I also don't consider myself a massive supporter.
Do you remember what drew you to Arsenal in the beginning? Was it because you were living and working in London and you were
I
right
was
near the ground?
before I studied at university. I went to London for about 1.5 years. I was living in Finsbury Park, which is
Which is next door. Yeah, that's right
next
there.
door,
Right there.
Manor House as well. And I used to go to the Finsbury Park, to the park itself, to play football with the
Mhm.
locals. And at the time I wasn't an Arsenal fan yet, but then there was also a moment when, and this is very common, by the way, right? When a Czech player joined Arsenal. His name is Tomáš Rosický, and he played for Arsenal for 10 years.
Mhm.
And he was one of the Czech big talents, and we all remember him fondly. Now he's a Sparta Prague. He works for Sparta Prague as the sports director, actually. But I wanted to say this is very common that you start supporting a club. You're not English, right? You start supporting a club because a player from your country joins a
Joins the
big club.
Yeah.
Joins the
Yeah.
club. I think it's very common, and sometimes we are looked down on, fans like that, right? Because it's like, what happens when this player actually leaves? Do we still support that club or not?
Do you stay with the club or do you follow the player onto his next club?
You
Yeah.
could do both as well. That's the thing, right?
So to look down on someone, to look at them in a negative way, to look badly at them and
Mhm.
think, yeah, why are you doing that? Yeah.
Exactly.
But you stayed with Arsenal, so I'm pleased about that.
Yeah, but I also have a soft spot for West Ham. You mentioned West Ham, that you almost had a fight with West Ham fans. So I was like thinking, that's my like second team. Now they're in the championship. They got relegated last season, but
Yeah.
there were like 2 Czech players at West Ham. So I had a soft spot for them too, and I started watching their games too. So you see, I'm a torn fan as well, a little bit.
Yeah. No, I have a soft spot for West Ham as well. I have many friends who support West Ham. Yeah, Tottenham's another matter. Tottenham Hotspurs, as we can put
Oh,
those to one
never.
side. Yeah.
Although there's a Czech player there as well now. There's a goalkeeper, Antonín Kinský, playing for Tottenham. So
Oh,
I
really?
suppose I want him to be successful, like, to
Just
save
not
a
with
lot
Tottenham.
to save a lot of penalties and all that. But
Yeah.
I still prefer when Tottenham lose. Yes.
Me too. That's another thing we've got in common. So moving back to the World Cup for a couple of minutes,
Mhm.
I want to ask you this. Do you think the World Cup encourages nationalism or patriotism? And we should clarify the difference, I think. So if you're a
Yeah.
patriotism, that's the pride in your country, while at the same time respecting other nations as well. So it's
Yeah.
quite a nice thing, isn't it? Patriotism, to be
It's
a
all right.
patriot. Nationalism, on the other hand, is a bit darker. It often involves believing that your nation is superior,
Yeah.
as you said before, to look down on other countries as rivals beyond the sporting event. So that could happen, couldn't it, when we get behind our national team? What do you think?
I hope it doesn't really. I hope these two things are separate. I hate far right and nationalism, and these people just think they are privileged and they are better than others, and it's arrogance and stupidity, in my opinion. But we all have such groups in our country, right? It's just, it happens, unfortunately, and we have seen in history. Like, if people just studied history a bit, right, we have seen what it can lead to. We have seen it, right?
Right.
Fascism and all that. So it's just
Mm.
and now we have something happening in the USA as well, right? Some movement called
Yes.
MAGA or something, Make America Great Again. Sorry, guys, but it's okay to be a patriot. Sometimes if you wave the flag supporting your football team, great, no problem. But like, starting to think that you are superior to someone else because of your nationality, skin color, passport, what have you, it's just utter nonsense, and you will just end up being hated by everyone in the end. It's not the answer. So I hope it's not like that. I think when it comes to football, you're just supporting your team and you're proud of your country. I'm proud of the Czech Republic when we win, but Czech people generally, we are not very patriotic. So this is like the only occasion if we manage to be good, which hasn't been for about 20, 25 years now, unfortunately. we used to have time when we were second in the FIFA ranking, right?
Wow.
That was like 2004.
I remember that period. I remember the Czech team back then was strong.
And we were really proud of the country at the time, of the players, of the team. But that didn't make us...
Did you see people hanging flags from outside their houses and flats and balconies?
But not like... It never turned us into nationalists or something like that. We were just happy to finally show the world that a small country like the Czech Republic can do something, can be successful at football. So it's just like that. So I don't know. Do you really... I know you were playing devil's advocate, but do you really believe that it could also happen? That I
think there could be a tendency for that. That it worries me slightly because, as you know, in politics, there's a lot of anti-immigration feeling, especially in the UK with people coming over on boats, etc. And I think any excuse that right-wing parties have to stir up and to encourage any form of nationalism, they jump on the bandwagon immediately. That means they get behind the movement and they take advantage of the situation to get people feeling very nationalistic and blaming other nationalities, maybe for losing a game, for example, or the referee because he's from this country. Which
referee is always blamed, no matter what.
So. That's true. But I think the right wingers, the extreme right wingers, and the extreme nationalists, they might use that, especially if the referee from a country that it's easy to turn people against. So
I guess,
and we saw it a bit with Iran, because obviously America's still at war with Iran, as far as I know, and yet they had problems getting into the country. And I don't know if there was any violence with the fans. I don't follow it that closely, but I hope not.
I don't think so.
But yeah, it's
complicated because you also have some Iranian fans. There were some Iranian fans holding a different kind of Iranian flag because they are against the current regime in Iran. So it's more complicated than that.
Yes.
Yeah, it's very
true.
It's a very complex issue, but definitely, this is something I want to ask you. So there's this. Often people say, "Hey, don't mix up football and politics. Don't ever do that." But to be fair, I'm like, it has always happened. Like for me,
that doesn't mean it's right. But that doesn't mean it's right.
Yeah, but it's always the case. It's always happening, right? It's always mixed up to some extent.
Yeah,
and I'm not saying if it's right or wrong, and whichever. I'm not like talking about any sides here. I'm just saying this opinion. You should not mix up football and politics. It's just impossible, in my opinion. What do you think?
I don't know if it's impossible. I always think of the actors and the actresses and the directors who get given the Oscar, and they go up to collect their Oscar on stage, and then they start speaking about politics and what the government should do. I'm like, get off the stat. What are you talking about? Ricky Gervais was hosting the Grammys. Was it the Grammys? I think. And he said, don't go up and make a political speech. Just go up, say thank you, take your Oscar and sling your hook, which is a polite way to not use the F word. Get off the stage, go away, and don't get into politics. And I think sport should be the same. The Olympic Games, the World Cup, I agree with you that it's difficult to separate it, but I don't think it should have anything to do with sport whatsoever.
I just don't believe this. I think there's right and there's wrong, right? I know people can interpret the right and wrong in two different ways. That's part of the problem. But when clearly there is a president, I'm not going to name him, but clearly he's a villain. And everyone can see it. Why not make a speech? Why not make it?
Presidents.
Okay, so when they are a clear villain and it's obvious, right? Okay. Why not say something about it? Why not use this as an opportunity to do that? When else would you do that?
Because it's very subjective, I think, Zdeněk.
Yeah,
I mean, are you a terrorist or a freedom fighter? It depends what side you're on.
I know. But a lot of people are in denial. They live in their bubble, football fans included, and they are in their echo chamber, right? Just following the content that, what's it called? There's like an expression for that as well, that sort of agrees with your own opinions, and you never get challenged. There's one expression for that. I can't remember. Never mind.
Yeah.
But yeah. So sometimes
towing the line, maybe.
No, there's another one. Never mind. But yeah, sometimes some things have to be said, in my opinion. But yeah, I see what you're trying to say.
But there are forums. But there are forums for saying it. Surely, I mean, I don't think the World Cup should be the stage for giving a political view. That should happen at the United Nations. That should happen in every country's parliament. That should happen. And we've got enough social media channels these days for people to put their views across.
But okay, so how about if let me give you an example. So what if he didn't do it? But what if Donald Trump went to the opening game? He didn't. He was smarter than that this time. But what if he went to the opening game and he had a speech at the beginning of the game, which he might have done, to be fair, and then the fans would start booing? Would you also say they shouldn't be doing that, or
the fans? You mean?
Yeah, because they did that. I think he went to the NBA final, the basketball league final, and he got booed out, right?
Yeah.
So that's expressing an opinion as well, and that's like American fans of the sport. So is that also a time when the fans should be, just as you said, towing the line? Just
no. I think the fans are going to do what the fans are going to do. But let's face it, FIFA, if they're organising the World Cup, they should be the ones to decide who gives the speech at the opening of the game. And as we've already seen, and I think you've spoken about this before, these hydration breaks that are being put on because of advertising, because the Americans want to make more money. So they're having an extra break in the middle of the halves, which is crazy. Now, I blame FIFA for allowing that to happen, because they are the controlling body of the World Cup. Yeah. And they should put their foot down, which means be firm, be strong, and say, no, we're not going to ruin the game by having another break like it's a basketball match.
Absolutely.
So by the same logic, I don't think Trump or anyone should be allowed to give a speech at the beginning of the game. Maybe Pele or Beckham or someone like that could, but it shouldn't be about politics. You shouldn't mention politics. But I feel very strongly about that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I just feel like it's almost impossible, even when there were like Olympic Games. But what about when there are like Olympic Games when Germany were not allowed to compete or something? Or
Germany.
It happened in the past. Definitely happened in the past.
Didn't it happen before the Second World War?
Something like that,
with
right?
Hitler, maybe?
So I can't remember, but definitely it has always been the case.
Russia's been banned in the past, I think.
Yeah, and now as well, they can't compete.
Yeah,
so it has always been the case. And I just think like you probably shouldn't compete if you are waging a war. And that's also a stand. So if FIFA are banning a team for not being able to compete because of their activities in geopolitics, then there will be another issue, because there is a lot of inconsistency in the way they do it, right? We have other countries that are allowed to compete, so it's a bit tricky, you know. But my point is, it has always happened, and it's almost impossible to separate it, because it's a business as well, right?
Yes. The money, when money's in the middle, then all bets are off. And
exactly.
But no, I agree with you. It always has played a role, but I don't think it should. Well, it's a changing world. The new normal, as people say, things will never be the same. A couple of things I think we shouldn't speak about. Paraguay knocking out Germany on penalties. That's a sign of a changing world. Morocco eliminating the Netherlands in this current World Cup.
Which wasn't a surprise. Not a surprise at all.
No, you weren't surprised, because Morocco is getting steadily stronger.
Well, Morocco are a great team at the moment. They won.
The Netherlands also used to be years ago.
Used to be. That's the key word. Morocco were in the semi-final in the last World Cup.
Yeah,
they were in the semi-final, and now they were African countries. 9 out of 10 made it out of their group in this tournament.
Wow, I didn't know
So
that.
they are on the rise, and they have been great. The truth to be told, lot of the players that play for the African countries were not even born there, which is interesting. So I
Yes.
spoke about this recently on Luke's English podcast when I did this 2-hour ramble with Luke, and I mentioned that 99 players in the World Cup were born in France.
Really?
Yeah. So you have the French national team. I don't know, is it 26 players? I think 26 players constitute one national team in the World Cup. So 26 French-born people playing for France. But then you have
the rest.
Help me out. The rest. Help me out with the maths here. I didn't
terrible with maths.
calculate it here on the podcast.
I failed maths so many times I can't count.
Yeah. So basically, if one of your parents or grandparents were born in that country, you are allowed to compete for that country, even if you were born in France.
So can you have dual nationality in France, or do they have to change their nationality to play for the team? And they lose.
I don't know That's
okay.
a good question. I don't know the details, but probably you'll have to do something, right, to be allowed.
Wow,
but this is a trend. I just wanted to say this is a trend as well. Curacao competed.
Yes.
Only one player was born there. Everyone else was born in the Netherlands. So
wow.
It's interesting, right? We have these trends as well, which makes a lot of the teams better as well.
And just to bring the point home as well, Italy not even qualifying this time was a shock to me. Poland, Nigeria, Chile didn't appear in this World Cup. And yesterday, Cape Verde punching above its weight, you could say, being a lot better than anybody expected. Amazing. Narrowly losing 3-2 to Argentina. Did you see the game? Were you impressed?
Did you see the second goal they scored?
The second goal was beautiful.
What a screamer.
Beautiful. Yes. And the way it curled into the top corner was amazing.
And their goalkeeper, Wozinha, 40-year-old.
40 or 41? 41, I think.
One of those.
Yeah.
He's an absolute legend. He collected like maybe 8 million Instagram followers just overnight after playing their opening game against none other than Spain. Cape Verde drew their opening game against Spain 0-0, which was incredible, and they only committed one foul, Cape Verde, in that game. One foul in the entire game. So what a strange game it was. So Cape Verde, they got into the knockout stages after drawing 3 times. They collected 3 draws, and now another draw, you could say, in 90 minutes of play. Yes. And then they got beaten in the extra time. But
narrowly.
Argentina, they were sweating in this game.
Yes, yeah, they were sweating, and I noticed that a few of them are getting quite tired as well. So that's something that will be interesting to see going forward. But what are your predictions for the final? We could use the phrasal verb to root for, perhaps. To root for is to support, to get behind. Who are you rooting for?
I'm not sure I'm rooting for anyone. I suppose I've got a lot of English friends, so I suppose I want them to be successful. But realistically, England will not win the World Cup. They can get very far, but they will have some tough opponents along the way. Like, for example, their next game is your next game, I should say, is against Mexico, and that will be played at the altitude of 2,000 meters, 200.
In Mexico.
2,200 meters in Mexico. Azteca Stadium. We played there, the Czech Republic, and it's really hard to breathe at that height. So
I'm not confident. And I always consider, again, it's this back to the idea of not getting too emotionally involved. And some English people watching this might get a bit annoyed if anyone is watching it from England. I always considered and always have considered England as a B level team, not an A level team. I don't put them in the same category as Brazil, Argentina, France.
Yeah, but you are better now. You got into 2 European Euros finals, and that was not a coincidence. That was for a reason. Your players are great. Come on, Harry Kane. That's like the best strike. That's like one of the best strikers in the world.
Yeah, but you can't build a team around one player. It's got to be a
True.
team. Spain are much more of a team. They play together well.
True.
They're more cohesive
unit, yeah. But
communicate better.
nevertheless, I would say that the biggest favorites at the moment are France, because I don't know if you have seen their games recently, but they seem to be on fire. And Mbappe is playing so well, much much better than at Real Madrid. And then you have this talent, Olise, who used to play for Crystal Palace. Now he's at Bayern Munich. Oh my God, he's such a clever player. And then Dembele as well. So they have like such an offensive force. I don't think they will be stopped.
So if you had to put money, is it going on France?
It is, yeah.
I think my wages would go on France as well. As much as I hate to admit it.
Okay.
After the bad taste in my mouth from the Champions League final, but yeah, I think it has to. But we'll see. It's the World Cup. I mean, look at Cape Verde. There, anything could happen in football. So
that's why we love football as well, because because usually the scoreline isn't. It's not basketball. It's not handball. It's not one of those sports where you score a lot of goals or make a lot of points. Football is usually like 1-0, 2-1, or something like that. That's what makes it interesting, because occasionally you do have an upset.
Yes. Yeah. And it's not as boring as cricket, where you have to play for 5 days and it ends in a draw. So it's not that bad.
Don't let me get started on that.
Okay. Well, shall we leave it there? Any final points before we close?
Yeah, just keep watching football, and it's really the best sport in the world. It's also the most accessible sport, in my opinion. It's the easiest to play. All you need is just something around to kick about, and you can make any like makeshift goals from anything. When I was a young boy and in school, we just used our backpacks as posts.
Yeah, we used our jackets, our sweaters as 2 posts.
There you go. So that's why it's so great that people can play it everywhere, even in poor countries, and that's why it's such a worldwide phenomenon.
And it does bring people together, which is nice. So yeah. Okay, well, where can people find you if they want to learn English with you? Is it teacherzenic.com? Is that where people should go? Where would you send them?
Yeah, they can send me an email. I think my email will be there. And my email is teacherzenic@gmail.com. If anyone is interested in one-to-one lessons, they don't have to be about football and something like that. And also the Footglish podcast, of course. Yeah. Thank you, Craig.
And Teachers
and what about you?
YouTube.
And what about you? Because this is a crossover, so.
Well, our podcast is inglespodcast.com. So that's a weekly podcast. Every Sunday it's released, and we talk about everything from grammar, vocabulary, and now, as you see, football. But, if you are interested in studying with me, I tend to focus on conversation groups of lovely people who get together on Zoom, and I prepare a lesson for them, and we speak and focus on fluency, vocabulary, and pronunciation. Although I am taking a summer break in July and August, but you're welcome to get in touch with me during the summer for a free consultation. Just go to the webpage, book a Zoom chat, and I'll give you all the information you need and speak about your level in English.
Nice one.
Great. Well, this has been fantastic. Thank you for doing this, Zenic. I've really enjoyed talking to you.
Me too.
We'll see what happens with the rest of the World Cup.
Absolutely. All the best to you, and good luck to England, or is it Spain?
Well, my wife's Spanish. I've been here 30 years. I was here for their victory 16 years ago, which was amazing to see the city not on fire, but to see the city so crazy after Spain winning the World Cup with that wonderful team 16 years ago. But we'll see. I'm keeping my distance emotionally.
When your wife is around, you support Spain. When you are alone?
No, I support England to annoy her. But secretly, yeah, I'm very happy when Spain win. Yeah.
Nice one. Okay, thank you for having me, Craig.
Cheers, mate. It's been a pleasure. Take care.
Yeah. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Welcome back to the Language Corner. As always, in this part of the show, I'm going to be explaining some vocabulary from the episode. And this one was recorded as an crossover. So it's quite unique for this podcast. I haven't really done it like that in the past. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. We have agreed, frankly, it was my idea to let Craig sort of be the main host. So he introduced the episode. And I was very happy to do it like that, because I thought it might be a bit tricky if we asked each other questions. I prefer it in this way, but I think we could learn a lot about Craig as well. He was not just asking me questions; he spoke about himself too. So that's why I thought it was a lovely episode, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to smash the like button if you liked it, because in this way I can show you more. Sorry, not I, but YouTube will recommend you more videos from me, and also it will help some other people find this podcast, okay? So head over to the Teachers Danik YouTube channel and hit the like button, please. Right. Now, in this episode, and this was Craig's idea, he actually included several types of fans. Yeah, so there are expressions that we use in English which describe a type of a football fan. And I have also added a few more to make it interesting. And now in this part of the show, I'm going to be going through these expressions again to sort of make an overview of these. I've got eight expressions. I've got a fair weather fan, a staunch supporter, a die-hard fan, an armchair supporter, a plastic fan, an ultra, and a glory hunter. Right. So let's get started. A fair weather fan is someone who supports a team only when it is successful. When the team starts losing, they will lose interest and stop supporting the team. Do you know any fans like that? I also said in the episode that this expression is very similar to another expression, a fair weather friend, which is a type of friend that is only a friend when things are going right. But when there is a problem, that friend is not there to stand by you. It's a bad friend. Just like a fair weather fan is a bad football fan, right? A staunch supporter, on the other hand, is a loyal, committed fan. And again, it's not only used in football. For instance, I remember when I used to listen to the LBC radio a lot in the past, especially during the time of Brexit. I was really interested in this subject matter. And there were a lot of call-in shows, and people were calling in, introducing themselves as staunch Brexiteers or staunch Remainers, meaning they are really committed to the cause. So if you are a staunch supporter, a staunch Arsenal supporter, you're really loyal. You're a loyal, committed fan. Right. Another one is a die-hard fan. A die-hard fan is someone who is really devoted, passionate, regardless of the result. You know, this kind of fan never gives up. He or she will always support the team. Basically, it comes from the idea that you refuse to be killed, right? Imagine in a war, you refuse to die. You just keep fighting no matter what. And so this die-hard fan is probably a season ticket holder, someone who is probably a traveling fan as well, who travels to away games, something like that. Okay. An armchair supporter is basically a couch potato. Sometimes someone who never goes to the stadium, someone who watches football games from the comfort of their own home, right? This is someone who never visits the stadium. So I think I am mostly an armchair supporter, but I try to go to some games if I can as well. So I'm not 100% an armchair supporter. For me, it's just expensive to go to games. I think it's the biggest issue. And also, I don't really live. If I lived closer to the stadium and to the club that I support, perhaps I would go more often. I could get a season ticket as well. I can imagine it. But when I lived in England, for instance, near the Arsenal stadium,
honestly, with the salary of an English teacher, it would be almost impossible to spend my money on a season ticket, or even I went to a few games, but that was expensive as well, and I got a few tickets as a gift as well. I think I got one from my boss in the language school that I worked for. I think it was like a Christmas gift or something. Yeah. A plastic fan, on the other hand, is a fan that supports a team without genuine long-term loyalty. Something plastic is very cheap and not of very high quality, right? So imagine you have a glass, right? And then you can have a plastic cup, so probably plastic cup doesn't last very long. A glass is sturdier and generally is considered better quality. So plastic fan, in the same way, is someone who doesn't have a deep connection to the team and often just follows trends or success. Yeah. Speaking of success, another similar expression is a glory hunter, and this is a type of fan who chooses the most successful team to support, probably someone like PSG or Man City or Bayern Munich. The team that it's like there's certainty that this team will win the league almost, right? So that's because this kind of fan enjoys the glory, the wins, the trophies, the fame, but it's also not the best example of a fan, because often this type of fan is similar to a fair weather fan. Again, like when things are not going right, this fan will probably disappear and will not support the team as they did when things were going well, right? And finally, we have the type of fan who is referred to as an ultra. Yeah, often we speak about the group of fans who are an organized group of very passionate supporters who chant, who have a lot of like tifos, right? A lot of huge banners. Maybe they even have some pyrotechnics, they use some flares and things like that to create amazing displays and atmosphere. Often these fans are a little bit hooligans as well, right? Often they are, they have this fun culture that sometimes they do things following their own rules. Often they are hard to contain as well when they get out of control. Sometimes they fight as well. So an ultra is a type of fan who belongs to this group of ultras. Right. I think that's it. That's all I wanted to talk about here. This episode has been very long, so I hope you guys appreciate it. I hope you guys like it. Let me know. Send me an email at teachersdanek@gmail.com. What did you make of this episode? Did you enjoy it? Or was it too long? Do you prefer when I do interviews, or is it okay when sometimes I do episodes like I did the previous one about the verb to play? Is that okay too? Let me know what you like more. And yes, I will speak to you soon. Let's enjoy the rest of the World Cup. Cheers, everyone. Bye-bye.